Hello guys, welcome to the concluding part of our CSS. So in this video I'll be showing you how you can turn a checkbox into a switch button. So before we go into that, I just want to style the mobile view of our web page to a desktop version of it. So I will just quickly go into that now. So I'm going to declare a style from the tablet screen. So I'm just going to say media. So inside of the media, I'm going to say mean width of 768. So from 768 upward, I want you to apply this style. Okay. So now I'm just going to declare another width for the container by saying the width of my container should now be 390 px. Sorry. So I need to add a width of 390 px. So after declaring the width now, so I will just declare a padding of 0. So it won't apply the padding on the mobile view to the desktop version. So now I'm just going to display everything inside of my container as flex. Okay. So if I save this and refresh my browser here, yes. So inside of my browser, I have this very width here. So this width is not enough. So let's increase the width more. So like 3. I think 900 should be enough. 900. Okay. So if we refresh this page, okay. So now we have the width that is containing both the image, the H3, and the button. So now, I think there is a padding on this very picture here. So we have to remove the padding on top of this one too. So let's go back to our VS Code here and say container, the container image, container img, the margin from the top of it, I don't want it again. Okay, so it should be 0. So the width can just be like 320 px. I don't want it to take the full width of the container. So also I will add a border. So if you look at the finished page here, I have like a curve, like an arc beside of my image. So to add that, we have to declare each border radius of this top left, and also this bottom left. So we have to declare each and every one of them one by one. So I'll just do border top left, border top left radius. I want to give it a 10 px, and also border bottom left radius, I want to give it 10 px also. So it will take, so that it can have that arc beside of it. So if I run this page now, yes, I think I have my website looking more good. But I think the curly brace here is not applied. So let's go back to our VS Code and see what is happening. Okay, so this should be bottom. Okay, so let's run in again. Okay, so now we have the image with the arc. So now let's declare for the H3 too. So now let's go back to the VS Code too and say the details, because we want to see our switch button. So we have to push down the details a little. So now let's just declare the details and add a margin from the top of it and say 50 px. 50 px should be okay, so that our switch button can stay right here. So now let's run this. Now we have a space for our button. So now without further ado, I'll just go into this checkbox and start turning this checkbox into a switch button. But firstly, I'm going to grab the container that is holding this checkbox here and start styling it. So now let me go back into my VS Code and go to and go to where I have the box. Okay, so now I'm going to declare the check first. I already displayed the box as absolute so that it can stay at this very center here. Okay, so now let's go back to the VS Code, and firstly we are going to be grabbing this very check, this very class of check, which is the input here. So now automatically we want to hide this very checkbox. We do not want to see it, but when we click on it, it should do something. So now let's go back to it and let's pick up the check, the class of check, and say the opacity to be 0. So automatically it is there, but we are not going to see it since the opacity is 0. So now also we are going to position this two as absolute. Okay, so it should be absolute to the label. All right, so now let's save this. So now let's start styling the label itself. So now let's bring the class of label into the CSS and say the position of this label should be relative so that the input can stay inside of it. So now let's save it and let's declare a background for it. So this background, the background color of I don't want to use the var now, so I just want to declare a color so that we can see it when we check on it, we can see another color. So if we look at this very complete project here, initially when you check on this, the background of it changes, and if you click on it back, the background changes to another color. So now we have to declare this color one by one. So let's go back to the VS Code and declare this color for this background. Okay, so now I will say 3C 4750. Okay, so that is the column. Okay, so now I will say the cursor should be pointer, so anytime you want to click on it, it should show the hand. And also I want to display it as flex. Initially it doesn't have anything inside of it, so the display flex is just going to make everything come to the center. So I'm just going to say display flex. Okay, so I'm not closing this cursor, so that's why it's not populating the whole thing. So let's say display should be flex, so we should justify content to the center. Okay, justify content, or let's use space between for now and see what that do. So let's save this and run it again. Okay, so now initially we are not seeing the checkbox because the opacity has turned to 0. Okay, so now the next thing we are going to be doing is to say a padding. That will be the padding for the white background, which is this very padding that is here, this small curly white. Okay, so now I'm going to say the padding of 5px should be enough. Okay, so I'm just going to say padding 5px, and also the height, I want the height of 20px and the width of 40px. So let's see what that does in our browser. A width of 40px should be enough. So let's save this and run it. Okay, so now I have this box, this very rectangle shape here, but initially this is the label we are styling. So now let's go back into our VS Code and continue styling. So now I'm just going to translate the scale. So when I click on it, it should scale. So I'm just going to add a transform here, a transform, and I'm going to scale this 1.5. Okay, so if I save this now, but initially the scale is going to work when we click on it. So now the next thing I'm going to be doing is to I think we are done for this. Let me just add a highline item so that it can highlight anything that is inside of it to the center, so we can be on the safer side. So let's save this